first one is one that we were, I'm sorry. Oh,
Do the
sorry.
intro, yeah.
I
Thank
was
you.
just gonna start doing
You're
it.
ready to rock and roll, it's fine.
Go ahead, Mr. Shuley, with your opening.
I'm John Shuley, Army Colonel. I'm John Shuley, Army Colonel, Republican candidate for U.S. Senate for the great state of Delaware. As a brigade commander, it is my job to put mission first, but people always. Build a team, protect the team, help them succeed. That's exactly what I do for Delaware. Because for far too long, our state has been under single party rule to the detriment of our citizens. We had a leadership class, and there was nothing but managed time. It's time for a new day, Delaware. To serve toward rebuilding a new generation, protecting our heritage, but also protecting our land. Turning Delaware into the knowledge factory of the 21st century, but also protecting its beauty and its people. That's why we'll build, that's why this vision requires Renaissance engines. Using small modular nuclear power to power research centers and having our great supporting efforts with the lawyers and our great universities. These engines will create tens of thousands of high-paying jobs, put Delaware on the map, and make Delaware energy sufficient, energy independent. That'll make this real. We must educate our youth to understand the physics and to master the arts. We need to transform our schools from being purpose-built in the 19th century to today. Let them understand how to think. Let them understand what it is to be human, a classical education, so that they will control machines and not the other way around. This vision for Delaware unites us all in a shared effort and desire for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I'm John Shuley. I'm asking for your vote of support for U.S. Senate. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Mike, it's your turn.
Good afternoon. It's nice to be here. It's nice to see you all, and thank you for putting this wonderful event together. I'm Dr. Mike Katz. I'm a 2026 candidate for the United States Senate. Our campaign is building a coalition of Republicans, independents, and Democratic Delawareans to win this race in November to defeat Chris Coons. I'm a pediatric critical care anesthesiologist, business owner, former Delaware State Senator, family man, and a man of faith. I grew up in a working class family, and in 1996 I was recruited for Boston Children's Hospital to AI DuPont Hospital for Children, bringing me and my wife Trish to Delaware 30 years ago. We've been married 39 years, and all three of our adult kids were born and grew up in Delaware. For decades, my job has been to take care of critically sick patients, diagnose their problems, and to prescribe a plan that helps people get better, managing complex medical teams. Today, the patient is Delaware. And friends, it's clear something's not quite right with Delaware, nor with America. Costs are up, trust is down, nearly 16 years of Chris Coons, and Delaware families still struggle. And while politicians keep making excuses, I'm here for one reason. I'm running for United States Senate because Delaware needs what the doctor ordered, and that is to solve the problems that Delawareans and Americans are dealing with every single day. I'm the candidate who can represent our conservative values and who can win this race in November to put a Republican from Delaware back in the United States Senate. This race is about leadership, it's about experience, and it's about who is ready on day one to serve you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Now we begin with the questions. Mr. Shuley, John, you will have the first question because you won the coin toss. It's about economy. Delaware families are still feeling the pinch of high costs for groceries and utilities. Aside from general spending cuts, what is one specific federal policy you would champion in the Senate to directly lower the cost of living for the people of Delaware?
Thank you for the question. When you go to the gas station and you look at the different pumps, and you see what other folks have put in their tank, you see $10. 15 of them, maybe 5. You can tell people are hurting. There is a crunch, for sure. Even before the event, there is a crunch. And where did that crunch come from? 4 years of Biden, 20 years in Delaware, though, single-party rule by Democrats. What we need is our own power. We need nuclear energy. We need gas. We need coal. We all need both. And we need a regulatory system that allows for that. The Green New Scam has been blocking that left and right, keeping our power low and keeping the costs high. Civic power, civic legislation to be passed will unleash the Nuclear Regulatory Commission and other commissions from the Department of Energy to allow innovation, to allow creativity, to allow deployment of all kinds of innovative technologies to produce power at lower costs. In particular for gas. I think I should say for farmers. Farmers also tank up. Farmers also use fertilizers. If you have more nuclear power, you have less requirement of natural gas to go into fertilizers. So prices go down further. It's all based on energy. We must produce more energy, more than ever before, and particularly different types of energy so we can balance out the requirement for all of our industries and for our people. Thank you.
You haven't used all your time.
I don't like to waste time.
All right. So you need me to repeat the question.
Sure.
Delaware families are still feeling the pinch of high costs for groceries and utilities. Aside from general spending cuts, what is one specific federal policy you would champion in the Senate to directly lower the cost of living for the people of Delaware?
Well, the cost of living is an economic issue, but there are 3 pillars that are involved with cost of living. It's not only economics, jobs, economy, cost of living, but it also involves healthcare and education. They're all intertwined. Delaware and America need a strong, robust economy that will enable all Americans to participate in the benefits of work to improve the standard of living. The past several years, Delawareans have been struggling with rising costs of goods and services, and many Delawareans have actually had to tap into their savings in retirement. I have a strong and proven background in economics and business, and I know that in order to rebuild a robust economy in Delaware and in our country, it requires several steps. President Trump has already begun to address these issues, but much more work needs to be done. So we need, especially in Delaware, to nationally invest in education, workforce development, continue to introduce tax reform policies that spur economic growth, reduce corporate tax burdens, and incentivize business development. We need to continue to simplify the tax code to ensure simplicity, fairness, and competitiveness. We need energy independence, which will significantly lower the cost of doing business, and it's also a national security issue. One thing I worked on in the state senate was improving government operations and efficiencies, and that's where President Trump worked on with DOGE. And that actually, I believe, needs to be legislated and turned into law. We need to work to improve operational efficiencies, health system, and operational efficiencies, and of how our government runs, and make it more lean, efficient, and meet the needs of citizens, not the political class. And finally, fiscal responsibility by passing balanced budgets and immediately implementing a plan to pay down America's national debt. The national debt is probably one of the biggest problems that is facing our country. It threatens our national strength and sovereignty.
You finished right on time. You can't rebut, John.
Well, I didn't bring a magazine to read while I was listening to that. Glenn Herbalist, everything but the kitchen sink. We need specific leadership desires, leadership goals to have in the Senate. Look at Chris Coons. Chris Coons has been there for 16 years. He was leading regulatory efforts for nuclear. Where has he gone? Nowhere. He's gone nowhere for the last 16 years. His Democratic Party had absolutely zero incentive to go forward and to make policy efforts for the people.
Thank you. Would you care to rebut? Mike?
No, I think I addressed the issues pretty specifically. There's a lot of specifics involved in my answer, and in 2 minutes I didn't really have the details to go into how I legislated. You can actually look at some of my legislation that I did in the state senate, which addresses some of these issues.
Thank you very much. Second question, that will go to Mike because he lost the coin toss. This is about energy. Delaware has a unique corporate and academic landscape. How would you leverage federal policy to make Delaware a leader in emerging technology to create high-paying jobs here at home? Mike?
Clean, low-cost energy is critical to Delaware's and America's ability to have a competitive and growing economy, and Delaware families have specifically dealt with the high cost of energy. In the U.S. Senate, I will support the ADVANCE Act. The ADVANCE Act promotes efficient project permitting practices and advanced nuclear technology. I will build on a bill that was already passed with overwhelming bipartisan support in the Senate and the House to ensure proper oversight and adequate funding to get development jobs done quickly. And as a U.S. Senator, I'll actively solicit, incentivize providers to locate power generation in Delaware so that Delaware becomes a leader in power generation and actually is in a position to export that power. Delaware has a real opportunity to lead in smart grid and efficient energy systems because of our size. I'll work with the U.S. Senate to bring these opportunities to Delaware to be able to be innovators in energy. This is about lowering costs, improving reliability, and positioning Delaware for the future. And that's the kind of leadership we need, and I'll bring to the U.S. Senate.
Thank you, Mike. Would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
Delaware has a unique corporate and academic landscape. How would you leverage federal policy to make Delaware a leader in emerging technologies, to create high-paying jobs here at home?
So let's be real. Prices right now for gas, electricity, and everything related to power is because of this green new scam. It is a scam. If you look at Democrats saying, hey, if you only pay a carbon tax, we'll make things more cheap. Oh, nuclear. Nuclear was bad until we needed that power to power AI. Now, nuclear is green. So this up and down of green is good, green is bad, it's all about money. It's all about getting money out of us and into the pockets of the power elite, funded by, or as they fund Democrats to keep things going as they are. Why can't we have a coal plant back at Indian River so we can put the lights on, lower the cost of energy? This is easily done at the federal level, where you allow regulations to be suspended to rebuild that coal plant at Indian River. You build one up here north in Newcastle County. Then you give teeth to the Nuclear Regulatory Commission by law to allow them to have avenues of approach for funding, for research and development, deployment, and guidance for companies to innovate, to build new reactors, to build new technologies that will take us to $1 a month for electricity. That is in the realm of possible. We have the resources, we have technology, and we have the know-how. The United States has been running nuclear submarines, aircraft carriers, small modular reactors for over 50 years. It is proven technology, combat tested. It's time we commercialize that to the fullest extent possible, and Elon Musk that ASAP. Thank you.
Thank you. Your turn, Mike. You want to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
Delaware has a unique corporate and academic landscape. How would you leverage federal policy to make Delaware a leader in emerging technologies, to create high-paying jobs here at home?
Well, Delaware has been known as the incorporation capital of the world, and we need to protect that. That is a great risk. That is another issue that we need to address. But one of the biggest areas that we can advance in Delaware to become a leader is in AI. AI is going to shape the future of our economy, our healthcare system, our education system, and and our national security. The question isn't whether we use it, the question is whether we lead or fall behind. The United States overall needs to lead in AI, and that means investing in research, supporting innovation, preparing for workforce changes that are coming. As Delaware's United States Senator, I'll address this as a national issue to create federal policy to establish guidelines and guardrails to ensure that the United States leads the world in AI dominance and protects our citizens from any potential adverse effects. I've actually had an opportunity to look into this and research it in an area close to us in New Jersey. A good friend is Mayor Vineland. They've just developed a brand new data center and with new technology. So we had the opportunity to discuss many Delawareans' concerns about energy drain, energy demand, noise, health consequences, and whether or not it creates jobs. All important questions. Delaware has a major opportunity here because of our size. We can become a hub for applied AI innovation, especially, as I said, in healthcare and finance and advanced industries. If we get this right, we create high-paying jobs, we grow our economy, and position Delaware for the future. But if we don't, we fall further behind. This is one of the defining issues of our time, and we need leadership that understands both the opportunity and the responsibility to protect Delaware's families.
Thank you. Would you care to rebut, John?
What Mike read was exactly what's in my Renaissance Aging concept. Small modular reactors, tied to Delaware's awesome corporate law, our ability to tie it into research centers and our education base. This combined in a symbiotic reinforcing way gives us the high-paying jobs, gives us a vision for Delaware. Delaware does not have a vision. That's been the problem for decades. I am providing a vision where we use technology to make Delaware the knowledge factory of the 21st century. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you care to add anything?
Yeah, I actually do think Delaware has a vision. I think Delaware has a wonderful and strong business history and environment. Unfortunately, we have a lack of leadership, which I will bring to the United States Senate. And I will also be the biggest salesperson for Delaware in our serving to try to bring business and technology to Delaware. So I think Delaware has a great future, just needs the right leadership.
Thank you. Next question goes to John. This is about health care, which we really need. As a U.S. Senator, you will be tasked with addressing the rising cost of health care and the shortage of providers in rural areas. What is your plan to increase health care affordability without expanding government overreach or compromising the quality of care?
Healthcare is close to everyone, because it's your health, it's your life. If certain family members in my circle, if I didn't provide them with funds for their medicine, they would be dead. The cost of medicine is going out of control. The cost of healthcare is going out of control. Out of the reach of most people. I can't emphasize enough. How many people have died since Obamacare has been instituted? Unknowable. So I'm sure it is out there. Folks are hurting from it. What President Trump promoted, and I agree with wholeheartedly, Obamacare was tied to the insurance company. It was a symbiotic relationship that just changed. More money for them, less money for us. Donald Trump said, let's reverse that. Let's send the money to the people. Give them health care accounts so that they decide how the money is spent. They look at what insurance company is best, and they choose. Giving the insurance company the money and then deciding, do we need that or not? What do you think they'll decide? They want bigger paychecks and higher stock prices for their CEOs. No. Money goes to the people. We use the market to decide who's best. So I get to choose which healthcare provider is doing the best. I get to choose what hospital has. Oh, they're charging $3,000 for a broken leg. I can get that for $300 down the street. There's going to be a Costcoization of healthcare once we go down the route of allowing the market to decide who is best in allocating the funds. Is it the government giving handouts to the insurance companies? Or is it to giving it to the people and having them decide how to take care of their own health care? Maybe you choose their own doctor.
Thank you. Mike, as a U.S. addressing the rising cost of healthcare and the shortage of providers in rural areas. What is your plan to increase healthcare affordability without expanding government overreach or compromising the quality of care?
Well, healthcare system is broken. I think most people know that. It's expensive, it's inefficient, and it's bloated. The industry has misaligned incentives that keep people sick instead of helping them get healthy. I have over 40 years of experience working in the United States healthcare industry on the clinical side and on the business side, taking care of patients and working nationally with hospitals and health systems on operational efficiencies and health system integration, as well as writing state and federal healthcare policy. America's health system is very expensive. It's very good. It's probably the best in the world at treating the sickest patients. It's very large, very complex industry. It accounts for about 17% of our GDP. Our health system requires a paradigm shift. That's how we're going to fix it. From treating illness to preventing it by changing behaviors and lifestyles, focusing on community health and public health to create a system that provides high quality, low cost care for every citizen. As your United States Senator, I will introduce legislation working with other senators and congresspeople to create the paradigm shift in America's health system to a well health system. We will establish a national health system which has competition to improve efficiencies, lower costs, and increase the quality of care. This legislation will open up cross-state competition by allowing insurance plans to be purchased out of state, and it will enable coordinated community and public health. When a family has handed me their child in the operating room, nothing else mattered. And that's the level of accountability that we need in healthcare policy that I will bring to the United States Senate and for Delaware.
Thank you. You would care to rebut?
I
John?
do. Everything you just said, Mike, is called managed decline. If only we turned the dial a little bit. If only we figured out the next lever to pull, we would fix it. Obamacare can be fixed. The money waste flowing, the root cause, that's not the problem. We just flipped the wrong dial. We just turned the wrong knob. Mike, we need a fundamental reboot of where the money flows and where it's forced. Not retooling the system to hopefully fix the healthcare system. There's no hope. Plan is not hope. Plan is move the money from the government to the people, not from the people to the insurance companies.
Thank you. Would you care to rebut at all, Mike? Or you done?
I'm not sure where to start. I'm not sure you listened to what I said, John. We need a paradigm shift. And we need competition. We need a completely new system. It's not, the problem with our health system over the past decades is government has focused on the financing instead of the structure. So I don't think you quite listened. And sometimes, well, that's all I'll say. You need to understand it's a complex issue.
Thank you. Our next question is on the border and security. Let's see, John, it's your turn, right? Is that correct? That's her. All right. National security starts at our borders. Beyond finishing the wall, what specific legislation actions will you take to ensure our immigration laws are enforced and that Delaware communities are not bearing the unfunded costs of the current border crisis?
Well, the one thing you said is that the laws we have, we need to enforce them. America must control its borders. Our current system of immigration and border control is broken and has been in chaos. Immigration is the foundation of our country. I think most of us are either immigrants or descendants of immigrants. So it's the foundation of our country, but it needs to be done well. It needs to be legal, safe, secure immigration. We're a country of laws, law and order, and it's an issue of national security, public safety, and it's actually an issue of health as well. As your United States Senator, I will work with members of Congress to establish a law that secures our borders airtight and enforce them, make sure they're enforced, modernize our immigration system, and have a merit-based legal immigration system. We need to ensure that immigrants who enter our country do not want to harm us, number one. Two, that they assimilate to our values and will be active, productive citizens who will improve and strengthen our country. Compassion requires order. Without a secure border, we have neither.
Thank you. You want me to repeat?
No, that's fine. I don't think they understand, or it's not being very well publicized. What is the root cause of the flux of immigrants in the United States? You ever heard President Trump said last year, all it took was a new president to flip things around. The laws are already in books. They exist. You just have a chief executive, he's not a Republican, to open doors. So it doesn't matter what laws you want in books. If the president doesn't enforce them, that's a problem. We need more Republicans elected and put in Congress. We need more Republicans put in the State House. We need more Republicans everywhere to stop this idea that if you flood the zone with immigrants, you as a Democrat will get elected. You plus up the census numbers so your state gets more House of Representatives or other various ways to achieve vote. And that's primarily what's happening. The borders theory is all about power. How can the Democrat base keep power? Bring in immigrants. Funnel money. U.S. aid was shut down all of a sudden. The caravans from the Central America up north were turned off. Our own government was funding the movement of illegal immigrants into the United States. And once Trump was elected, gone. It all stopped with the budget at a heartbeat. We have to understand that Democrats want power at any cost. And they will trample over all of your rights to make it happen. We need, as our cure, Republicans. We need to reinforce the need for more Republicans. We need to energize our base here in Delaware. I'm not just running for U.S. Senator. I'm running for every candidate, Republican candidate, who's trying to turn the state red and to bring back our values, as we've seen growing up. There's no reason why we can't go back to making America great again. Thank you.
Thank you. Would you care to rebut?
All set, thank you.
We're ready for our next question then. This is education for the future. Your turn, right? Many argue that our current education system is failing to prepare students for 21st century economy dominated by technology. What role, if any, should the federal government play in reforming education to ensure American students remain competitive against global adversaries?
Back at John Dixon High School when I was growing up in Wilmington, I thought the school was pretty good. As our brothers behind me were going through the classes, they were like, John, the drugs just came. It's terrible. This was like 30 years ago. And it has not improved. Now, how can you legislate this? For one, we have to remove the Department of Education. It is pushing funding to these various groups who are reinforcing the solid education we need. I mean, what we have now. What we need is an education system built for the 22nd century. Our 19th century solid education is built for kids who work in the factory, work in the business house. So they have to memorize. They have to understand their workplace. And when they go, they operate. But now we have computers. We have other ways of automation. But we're still teaching our kids the same old methods. And they're competing against calculators. They're competing against AI. And they will lose. We need to teach our kids how to think, how to be creative. We need a classical education. Understand rhetoric, logic, ideals, how to be human, what it means to be human. Humans have the power to always outdo AI. AI is not built in the image of God, we are. We have that soul. We have that spark. That spark, here's the story. There was a song made, and the artist used a bunch of different artists to create this one song. It was a hit. It was awesome. So he used past data to create the new song. It was great. That's what AI does. AI takes old data and creates new. But only the human can ignore all that data and create new. Because again, we are made in the image of God. We should reinforce that. And a person, kids who have that power of understanding a class of education, what it means to be human,
Do you want me to repeat the question? Many argue that our current education system is failing to prepare students for 21st century economy dominated by technology. What role, if any, should the federal government play in reforming education to ensure American students remain competitive against global adversaries?
Well, America education system is broken as well. It's not only nationally, but especially in Delaware. As you all know, Delaware has one of the most expensive education systems in the country, and we produce some of the least educated kids. I've always looked at education as the great equalizer. And I know that as a pediatric critical care anesthesiologist, I understand that the critical role that early childhood and secondary education play in a child's development. The first 2 years of a child's life are actually a period of rapid brain and neurodevelopment. And our education system nationally and in Delaware ignores this important period of child development. Our education system needs to start in the first few months of the life with age-appropriate education. If we wait until kids are 3 or 4 years old, we're already behind. We need to make sure that we have healthy pregnancies, healthy babies, making sure that all mothers receive excellent prenatal care, and that a child's education begins within the first months of life in all communities, regardless of the this. And this is what I was talking about. Many things are interconnected with economy, jobs, healthcare, and education. It's all interconnected. This early foundation sets the stage for future learning that affects social, emotional, and cognitive development. And we know that children who receive early childhood and secondary education are more likely to lead healthy and more productive lives. They learn how to critically think, not what to think, as EDI has been teaching our kids and college kids and universities, but we need to get back to teaching kids how to critically think. And a healthy, well-educated society makes for a stronger, competitive America and Delaware. In the U.S. Senate, I'll work to provide the resources and partnership with Delaware's administration and legislators to make sure that Delaware is a national model for early childhood education.
Thank you. Would you care to rebut?
I would. The kids of the Great Depression put a man on the moon. They didn't have computers. They had really crappy schools because of the Depression. Not a lot of money. But what they didn't have, they had family. What they did have was leadership. Those two things are missing, nationally and locally. All effort at the national level should be to move funding to help families in all of our states, particularly in funding, well, not funding, but electing leaders who want to lead, who want kids to grow. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike, you're next.
Would you like to rebut?
Would you like to rebut? Are you okay?
Yeah.
Thanks. All right, next question. Some of these are more simple. What are the two biggest issues currently facing the United States? No, it's John.
Thank you. Two biggest issues facing the United States today. One is Iran. It's right in our face.
Yep.
Why is Trump in Iran? Is it to just switch out leadership? No, it's deeper than that. You have to understand that Donald Trump has outgrown his presidency. What does that mean? When I was a battalion commander, I outgrew my battalion. After the last 3 months of my battalion command, it was easy. I got it. I was rocking and rolling. It was boring. After Trump's first term, it clicked. He understood. His first year in office, the second term, he was rocking and rolling. He outgrew his presidency. He looked at the globe as a system, not just the Strait of Hormuz, not just the Panama Canal. He's looking at it from a systems approach. So how do you fix these multi-lattice problems out of the globe? One of them is the high cost of energy. One of them is the Lloyds of London who are putting a hold at the Strait of Hormuz for the last 50 years. Tens of trillions of dollars have been paid to the banks and insurance companies. for that toll booth at the Strayhorn News because of the dangers of Iran. And all those years, we're like, don't attack Iran because they'll close the streets. So what did Trump do? He went to Venezuela, he took out that guy, boom, gone. We took their oil. We fussed up, we unsanctioned some Russian oil. And then we closed the streets. We closed the streets to squeeze the Europeans, to squeeze the insurance companies until they're going to deal. And once they deal, Ukraine will end. When Ukraine war ends, fertilizer prices will crash, food prices will crash, in a good way. Energy prices go down. In the Gulf states will then control the Straits are moves with Iran. Because there'll be finally peace. The board of peace that Trump set up last year shows that he is out of his command.
What are the two biggest issues? What are the two biggest issues currently facing the United States?
I think the biggest issues deal with the deterioration of the fabric of our society and the loss of the foundational principles of our Constitution. We, as family people and people of faith, we focus on faith, family, and the Constitution. Those are the guiding principles that I lead by, and I make my decisions by, and I teach my kids. So I think we need to get back to one. I think our political system is part of the problem. I think it's spreading hate and division and divisiveness, and that's why I'm working to change our political system from governance by politicians to governance by servant leaders, leaders who step forward to serve, placing people above party, service above self, and leaders who abide by a code of conduct grounded on our foundational principles of our Constitution, and also abide by a code of conduct in which we recognize our common humanity, we're respectful of each other, we work for and seek unity and work together with all Delawareans and Americans to improve our society. So I really think we need to get back to our foundational principles, our Constitution, and family and faith.
Thank you. Do you care to read that?
Yes, I do. The second major issue the United States is facing are young men who have been put down for the last 20 years. They're unworthy. Toxic masculinity. These things have been grinding on our young men for decades. They go to high school, go to college, get down to college, and told they don't belong here. And what the hopes and the likes of this is stirring the pot, making things bad. We have to raise up our youth, let them know that they are worthy, and they need help. I want to give them that help. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you care to say anything else? Okay. Next question. If you could sponsor one piece of legislation guaranteed to be passed and signed into law, what would it be? And that's you.
Term limits.
Yes.
I'm a big advocate for term limits. I'm actually the chair of the U.S. term limits for Delaware. This is something I've been working on when I was in the state senate, going back to 2009 or 10, and I tried to pass it at the state level, and I would pass it at the federal level, because serving in any body, whether it be at the federal level or the state, is intended to be service, community service. I look at it that way. And when our founders found our country, they got tapped on the shoulder. They got taken away from their farms or their businesses or the legal practice to serve, and they served a period of time and then went back to their life. And that's the way I believe that our country should return to. We should have turnover, have people with new ideas. It should not be a career, and it should also, it will help alleviate some of the corruption in our Congress.
Thank you. John, you want me to repeat?
The number one piece of legislation that must be passed is the Save America Act. We must protect our elections. We have no republic at all. We must protect our borders. We must be sure illegal aliens cannot vote. We must ensure our republic lasts more than another news cycle or a presidential administration. The Save America Act, I think, breaks down what it means to be American, what it means for the revolutionaries who fought, who was that? Kirkwood, Lieutenant Colonel Kirkwood. He was a Revolutionary War colonel in the Army, and he fought for us. That revolutionary spirit, that idea of fighting for liberty, fighting for justice, seems to me to have drifted away. And we've allowed this idea that anyone can vote who's not an American, this idea you can vote, that you can bring in illegal aliens and support them and give them funding at the detriment of citizens who are already here. To me, Save America is literally what the title reads. That's why Trump is pushing it so hard. 2026, the midterm elections need to be clean. Passing this law now ensures a clean election. And ensures, most importantly, that the perception that our elections are clean, it is held firm. Thank you.
Well, our next question, do you want to read that?
Yeah, if you don't mind, I actually agree with John on that. The Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, which is known as the SAVE Act, requires every voter to provide documentation of citizenship when they're registering to vote. We need to have confidence in our elections. Free, honest, easily accessible elections are the foundation of our democracy. As your U.S. Senator, I'll fight to make sure that in America, it is easy to vote, but hard to cheat.
Thank you. It's almost redundant. Our next question to you is, how would you make our U.S. elections more secure? That's your turn first, John. No, Michael.
Well, it's more on the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act, the SAVE Act. Corrupt elections are intended to destroy the fabric of our society and to tear apart our republic. America has enemies abroad that want to defeat us, and America also has enemies within that are here to tear down our government, our communities, and our great American culture of freedom and free markets. We need to ensure secure and fair elections.
Thank you.
Thank you. Let me rip off that. I would abolish the 17th Amendment. The 17th Amendment made popular vote for U.S. senators. Awesome. Before that, U.S. senators were decided on by, say, the General Assembly. The idea being the Senate, the state, would be represented in the United States government. You already have a public house called the House of Representatives. They represent the people. The Senate was designed to represent the state of government, the state of everything, and the qualities and the equities involved in that. What we have now with 100 senators is the ability of corporate lobbyists and what have you to control the elections. I only need to control 51 senators, and I control the most powerful branch in the United States government. Now, when I had to influence 5,000, 10,000 state and state representatives, that was much more of a lift. But when I had to put money on 51, that's a lot easier. Repeal the 17th Amendment. Allow our state legislators, all of them, and you out there, to go down the street, talk to your state rep, and go, hey, John, maybe that guy should hear something. Or maybe Mike, or maybe someone else. Maybe you have a face-to-face conversation with someone who's going to put that person in that House of Representatives, the General Assembly is represented, the state is represented in that Senate. Go ahead, thank you.
All right, you care to read that?
Yeah, I do. So in Delaware, we are literally one House seat away from the supermajority of the Democratic Party.
Yep.
So if that were true in Delaware, we would have the U.S. Senate choices lockstep with our potentially supermajority Democratic Senate. So I don't agree with that. The founders of our country were brilliant, and they did things for a reason, and that's one.
Yes.
The founders didn't do that in the beginning. The 17th Amendment was passed in 1913. So the founders realized the state has a vote in how the United States government is run. And yes, these are big boy politics. For sure, if the General Assembly is blue, the senators will be blue. As will any other state, based on their General Assembly. But it's more important that the lobbyists cannot buy, control 51 senators that control our United States government.
Thank you. question. Why should we support you in the September election? And that's George on yours, I think.
When I decided to run last September, as a colonel, I surveyed the territory and do an analysis. What is wrong with Delaware? Why? Big question, why? Understand. So I looked across, and I noticed huge amounts of money flowing into Delaware. Nothing wrong. They want to know that is it. They want to know the port. 1,000 unit housing development, commercial assets, roads, everything. And huge pushback. Why is that? Why? Money wants to come in and see if they can. Then I realized, because you teach us the Army War College, you're taught, hey, you need a division. You need a division for everyone to Iowa to understand what it is the purpose of Delaware. Why is Delaware here? And when our leadership, Democrat and Republican, in Delaware, can't agree on the vision, and they have investors coming in trying to change stuff, people are going to rebel. It makes sense. What Delaware needs is a vision for all of us to shoot towards. That's why I developed this Renaissance Ninja. How do you align the entire state along energy, education, and jobs? Make it all symbiotic and intertwined, and something people can see and understand. We're going to have to do their power. It's going to drop our residential cost for electricity to $1 a month. Easy. Again, we have the technology. We have the resources. We have the know-how to do that. It is all a matter of political will. There is no political will for a united vision for Delaware. I would bring it up and down the ballot. So when I go to the U.S. Senate, I'm bringing a vision of how the United States should act, how it should help Delaware and everyone in America understand and achieve the American dream. Thank you.
One time.
Well, the number one reason is because I can win in November to defeat Chris Coons. I'm developing and building a coalition, as I mentioned earlier, of Republicans, Independents, and Democratic Delawareans to win this in November. We've already received the endorsement of the Independent Party, and we are working on bringing disenfranchised Democrats onto our team. Also, my background with experience. I have, strong business experience, not only locally, regionally, but nationally. I understand how economies work. I've got an economics background, an MBA. I've grown and built businesses, so I know what it needs to do not only in the U.S. Senate, but how to help advantage Delaware so that it can grow economy, solve the problems we have with business, education, and healthcare. Finally, one of the most important things is that I know how to build teams and bring people together. So, serving as a Republican senator, I will work to bring other U.S. senators and Congress people in that are on the Democratic side and try to educate them on how our conservative values will help make America stronger, safer, improve our education, improve our health care, and make better lives for all of us. So it's the whole platform of the background skills and the fact that I've actually done this before. I have experience legislatively, writing and passing laws. I know how to solve problems, how to critically think, and how to improve things overall for our country to advantage Delaware. I've been in Delaware for 30 years. I know it well, and I know how to incentivize people to help make our community better and stronger.
Just on time. I have one more.
Quick vote.
Oh,
Rebuttal?
sorry.
Yes.
Didn't mean to let you out.
No worries, no worries. First, Mike, the only legislation you passed while you were a Democrat senator in the state of Delaware.
John, please direct all of your comments to the audience and the moderator, not to your teammate there.
Okay. Well, I have to, because he said he's done things he has not done. He said he passed legislation when he passed a scenic highway piece of legislation. The coalition he built as an independent was 3.9% of the vote last in 2024. That's not a coalition vote. What brigade commander? 2,000 men and women
Thank you.
Yeah,
I have one more.
may I just comment on that?
You want to read that? Go ahead.
Yeah, I would. Well, I think Urapo needs to be a little bit more complete. Pretty much everybody in this room is impacted by one of the most major pieces that was passed affecting healthcare, and that's the DIN, the Delaware Health Information Network. And I know you weren't in the state during that period, but that is a total integration of healthcare information statewide. The National Scenic Byway was model legislation which preserved a very important area to my district and is still in place today and used for other model legislation.
Okay, thank you. I have one more. Iran has been publicly chanting death to America since Jimmy Carter was in power as president. Mostly all the presidents since then have been against Iran having nuclear weapons. So, how would you explain the intransigence of our senators and congressmen to the facts? And why a limited nuclear attack by Iran in which Dover Air Force Base, nearby Washington, D.C., and Philadelphia would have strategic importance, and there would be extreme loss of life and probably make our whole state uninhabitable?
Right, so unfortunately, the person who wrote that question has no idea about the military. Iran has never had the capability to launch such a missile. And last summer, Trump destroyed with that hammer whatever missiles or nuclear technology they had. Now, what we got described was a fear. A fear of a boogeyman for the last 47 years. How to keep that straight from our moves? Dangerous. How to keep the insurance premiums for ships flowing through high. So they take the toll money and put it in their banks. Bankers and globalists for 47 years have been propping up Iran as the boogeyman, as the perpetual war machine to keep defense contractors in business, to keep high oil prices higher, and to keep America out. Trump has flipped it on his head. We're going to close the ships. We're going to force the globalists to heal. We're going to force the Arab states to take care of their backyard. The Gulf states are out. The border peace is up and running. Trump brought peace, literally, to the Middle East as far as the Gaza-Israeli conflict. He solved that. He solved it because we stopped using Israel as our unsinkable aircraft carrier to forcibly enforce our dominance on the Middle East. They hated it. So they spun up Palestinians and made life miserable for Israelis and for Americans. Now again, he's turned on his head, he's made a border peace. Every Arab nation, every Muslim nation is equal after this war. They all have a piece of this economic pie. $2 trillion investment is moving to the United States because of Trump. They now have an economic incentive to tell the Iranians, time out. No more fighting. Your government is no longer wanted, and we're going to change you. And we're doing it as a team.
All right, Mike?
Do you mind repeating that question, please?
When I get back to my paper, sorry. Iran has been publicly chanting death to America ever since Jimmy Carter was in office. And almost all of the presidents since then have been against Iran accumulating nuclear weapons. How would you explain the intransigence of our senators and congressmen to the facts? And why would they think of exposing the people of Delaware and the United States to even a limited nuclear attack by Iran, in which Dover Air Force Base, nearby Washington, D.C., and Philadelphia would have strategic importance and would be extreme loss of life and probably make our whole state uninhabitable?
It's a complex question with complex answers, more complex than healthcare. It's the wars that have been going on in that part of the world for thousands of years. And President Trump there's several parts to this, but President Trump has done amazing work first term with the Abraham Accord. And he's still working on building the coalitions in the Middle East with Israel and their Arab neighbors. What's happened over the last months and years in Iran is really as a result of deferring things that should have been taken care of decades ago. They are and part of the axis of evil, along with China, Russia, North Korea. They're all working together to create, basically, as you said, to hate America. They do. They want to impose their values in our country. You can see it, the influence in our schools. You can see it in our universities. You can see what's been going on in the last few years with the protests on college campuses and in our streets. This is all part of a long-range plan. As they say, America has the watches, but they have the time. So this is an important thing. It's an important generational commitment that we need to take, and Congress and the U.S. Senate needs to be bold about this. The President is bold, and we can't kick this down. Can't kick this can down the lane any longer. Our kids and grandkids and the future of our country depend on it.
Thank you very much. It's almost time to close, but I want to ask, should we have any questions from the audience?
I don't have any written, but Fran has a question. You want to come up to the
You
mic?
gotta come use the mic.
You gotta come use the mic, honey.
Do it good,
I just have one very important question. Would you let ICE in the state of Delaware?
Absolutely. They're an integral part of law enforcement. They're an integral part of keeping dangerous criminals off the streets. And I know where you're going with this. I'm not one for having paddy wagons go house to house and finding immigrants and throwing them into the jail and kicking them out. There are bureaucratic ways we can do this humane. But for the violent criminals or illegal aliens, we absolutely need ICE. Thank you.
Do you want to answer, Mike?
Yeah, no, I agree with John on that. We do need ICE. Unfortunately, this has been politicized by the Democratic Party and the blue cities like New York, Illinois, California, Chicago. But the problem is that ICE has been inhibited to do their job intentionally by the Democrats and Democratic leadership. ICE is trained to basically identify, find the illegal aliens that they're searching for. Unfortunately, they've had to use their forces to act as a police force. And that's something that the local or city police forces should be taking care of. So, number one, if we had secure borders, we won't be dealing with this issue. Now that we are dealing with it, we're in cleanup mode. Definitely, ICE needs to be supported. The people that work with ICE are women and men that have families, and they work hard, and they're true patriots trying to protect our community.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question from the audience. This is Elena. By the way, Elena is running for the school board in Appoquinimink. And I know probably no one here is in the Appoquinimink School District, but this is Elena. This is her first time out. You're more than welcome to support her.
I don't usually get applause. Teachers don't get applause. My question is about the rise of Islam in America. There is now a mosque in Glasgow. In fact, they tried to stop traffic the other day when we were trying to get to People's Plaza. I basically told them to move. Stand in the middle of the road, you're a target, sorry. What are your thoughts on the growing influence of Islam, and how do we manage that? Because as a political system, it's completely incompatible with the Constitution and the rule of law.
This is what I told you, the blue-green coalition, the Democrats and the Islamists. The money flowing into both organizations is all about disruption. You want to disrupt the middle class. You want to hurt the middle class. You want to depress the middle class. So you use Islam as a scary group. You use Islam. Islam by itself is peaceful. But it is. It's just a religion. It's like any other religion. lazy leftist Democrats. They want control. They'll do anything they can to get it. That includes weaponizing religion against us. Our founding fathers wanted freedom of religion. That's why the pilgrims came over from Europe. So religion, not bad. When you weaponize anything, you fund it. That's what we need to stop. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike, yours?
Yeah, ties into some of the questions we were answering earlier about, and I think the issue really deals with radical Islamism. And it gets to the point I mentioned earlier about one of the biggest concerns I have for our country is the deterioration of the fabric of our society, our values, the attacks on our Constitution, the attack on our values. And this is all by design. We're talking about Iran, the funding and some of the money coming from the Middle East that's been coming into this country for decades. And what they've done, they've been very smart about it. And as I said, we have the watches, they have the time. They're very patient about this. They've attacked our academic institutions. They've put billions of dollars into the major, trillions actually, into the major institutions, colleges and universities. Some I've attended. And they're attacking and infecting our minds and our children's minds. And now the issue is not only the kids from 20, 30 years ago that were indoctrinated into sort of Marxist, socialist type ideation. Those people are now grown, and now they're the professors teaching our kids. And I can tell you, our kids, not only in secondary education, but in the colleges and universities, it's scary. And we need to turn that around and get back to the foundational principles of our society, our Constitution, faith, and family.
Thank you very much, and that has to be the end, except you each get 3 minutes to do end of debate. And let's see, since you went first, we'll let Mike go first.
Thank you, Joan, Nancy, and everybody here for coming today. Appreciate the opportunity with the Kent County Republican Women for hosting this important conversation. And thank you for everybody else that's joined us here that's engaged in the process. Today you've heard about policies and ideas, but ultimately this race comes down to something much more fundamental. It comes down to leadership, and it comes down to experience. And it comes down to who can build the statewide coalition to win this race in November to defeat Chris Coons. I've spent my life working at the intersection of healthcare, business, and public policy. And as a physician, I've cared for patients and families in the most critical moments of their lives. As a business owner, I've had to make decisions about growth, cost, risk, sustainability, the same pressures that families and small businesses face every day. And for more than 3 decades, since the early 1990s, I have worked on healthcare and public policy in state capitals in Washington, D.C., helping to shape real legislation and real solutions. I don't just talk about policy, I've worked on it, I've lived it, and I understand how to get it done. In the operating room, when a family places their child in my hands, everything else fades away. There are no talking points, no excuses, just responsibility and accountability. That is exactly what is missing in Washington today, because right now, our country is under attack and failing and off track. The result is simple. People are paying more, getting less, and losing confidence in the system. Families are struggling with rising costs. Small businesses are under pressure. Our healthcare system is broken. Our border needs to be secured. And too often, Washington is focused on politics instead of results. We don't need more slogans. We need leadership that delivers real results and a government that actually works. I believe in fiscal responsibility. I believe in energy independence. I believe in secure borders. I believe in a government that serves the people, not the other way around. I believe we must bring people together to actually get things done. Our coalition is already coming together, including the endorsement by the Independent Party, because people understand that winning in November requires bringing others with us. I'm the candidate who can not only represent our values, but win in November and deliver real results for Delaware. I'm ready on day one to serve the people of Delaware and Washington, and I ask you for your support, your vote, so that together we can get Delaware and America back on a strong, healthy path. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for caring about our community. God bless you all. God bless Delaware. And God bless our great United States of America. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Shuley, would you do your wrap?
Yes, ma'am. My fellow Delawareans, I'm John Shuley, and I'm running for U.S. Senate for the great state of Delaware. I was born and raised here, though, in Bloomington. Public school education. Favorite college, I joined ROTC. After almost 30 years, I'm a full bird colonel in the United States Army Reserves. Along with being a brigade commander, I was a government civilian, handling strategic planning, research, and AI data policy. During this career, I was dedicated to the military's role being apolitical, as it should be. However, two events changed my path. When President Trump was shot, I was horrified at the prospect of civil disorder and political violence. The second event was when Charlie Kirk was murdered, a clear attempt to prevent Republican youth from achieving future political power. These two events simulate a battlefield phenomenon seen at the front line. When an enemy probes the line, we report it. When they hit the same spot again, you call in reserves and you throw everything you have at it to stop the coming attack. I'm running for U.S. Senate to fight, because I know what's coming. Our adversaries' goals, whether it's Russian, Chinese, or leftist Democrats, are all aligned at defeating America. Delaware's Republican Party is weak from decades of decay. So much so, they will support a waggle candidate just to tread water in the General Assembly. That is no way to win a war. We must fight to win every seat up for election, no matter what the odds. Or we will fall into irrelevance and soon become a Democrat-like party. I am no career politician, and I will not pretend to be one. But I will bring strategic leadership, a vision for Delaware based on life, growth, and prosperity. The Trump administration's policies align perfectly with my Renaissance Vision platform by integrating modular nuclear power, research centers, and innovative manufacturing. We connect the first state, the epicenter of the national revival, and restore the American dream for every family. Join me on this mission to restore the Republican Party, to win back over the U.S. Senate, and to make Delaware and America great again.